It's 5:30. We'll call the meeting to order. First item is our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice Chair, we read our mission statement.
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Any additions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Public forum. Anybody in the public that would like to approach the board, now is your time. Moving on to our presentations, Southwest West Central Service Cooperative and Marshall Public School Facilities Partnership. Welcome.
Thank you. Do you want to approach the board table and kind of start and I'll do some introductions? So we wanted to share with the board this afternoon some conversations. Cliff and I started talking probably this last summer, even when I first kind of started on, about different projects and facilities needs, and it's been great support as we've gone through different things this year. But one of the things that we've been talking about is our long-term facilities goals. And for both of us, we have some different projects going on. We thought, well, maybe there's some good ideas here that we could partner and make some things work. You know, really we're thinking about those long-term goals we've talked about for some time. If you want to go to the next slide, Tricia. I'm going to let you three introduce yourselves and then.
Thanks, Jamie. Cliff Carmody, Executive Director at the Service Cooperative, been the Executive Director about 15 years. I think this is my 23rd year, so.
Kim Barr, Solar Management. I've been working with SWWC for the past 5 years as their owner's representative.
I'm Gary Hay with ADOBS Architects, and we've been working with SWWC for about 4.5 years on their facilities.
We can go to the next slide. So as we talked about our different projects, the four of us have met a couple of times and just talked about different things. And we've talked about the different space needs that we all have, the ongoing needs with that, and thinking how could we best meet all those needs? We have a lot of alignment in some of the needs that we're needing within facilities in the district. You know, so how could we maybe partner in some facilities things? What are some benefits maybe in working together? And is there some opportunity for some increased efficiencies as we look at some different things? We'll kind of walk through what some of those things might be this evening. So some current reality of where we're at within our projects, switching to the next one. For within the district, we have the ALC is the first piece. Our ALC has been located at a few different locations, as you know, in the community. We were at the mall recently, and that wasn't an ideal location for us. Currently, we're in a location that was built as a retail space. It was used as a call center, and now we're using it as a school, but it wasn't designed to be a school. So it just doesn't meet those needs really well. Safety, security, part of that, you know, visibility of different things in there, and just not having classrooms as part of it too. So it's not functioning as well as it could be. I think when we met last week, I think it was Kim, you were the one that said, why did you build a new elementary school? We think about best meeting the kids' needs and carrying that kind of conversation over into our ALC. And really, as we're thinking about our mission statement, focusing on that preparing all learners for success. How do we best prepare all learners for success of having facilities that meet those needs as we're going through different classes? The other piece that we're looking at the next slide is beyond the ALC, we have looking at that long-term facilities plan. The middle school was identified as one of the areas with need for space overall. As we go forward with the early childhood moving all to Parkside this summer, that certainly will create some spaces at the middle school. We could expand and spread some things out what we need. Also, I think about our district office space that's in the middle school building now. This space could work really well for things like special ed, EL, some counseling spaces that are kind of stuck in spots and nooks and crannies that we found a space, but doesn't function as well as it could. So could this space become educational space in the building, take care of the needs that the middle school has for space, and the district office could be located, you know, as Cliff talks a little bit about some of their project too. Maybe our district office can move in and commingle with their corporate space or be under the same roof, just like ALC maybe could move and be under the same spot as some things that they're looking at. We just think we can maybe do things better without and meet some of the facility needs. The last slide I'm going to talk about talks about just that long range facility plan. This was in 2018 as we were going through what we need for facilities. I found this presentation talked about, we had these 3 different priorities kind of laid out. First one looked at the need with West Side, safety, security, early childhood. Those pieces have been addressed. Priority 2 is spaces at middle school, high school, and CTE. Those are all conversations that we're still having. And priority 3 included the Maytech site, activities, maintenance, things like the track, the middle school theater, when Deanne talks about long-term facilities, things later on this afternoon. Those are all things we're looking at. Maintenance, storage, swimming school space, and a swimming pool space, and childcare center, all things that we're looking at. And I feel like if something works within this conversation with the service co-op, we cross a few more of these things off, we could get down to where we have the high school left as a space that we need to address. So check more of these facilities needs off of our plan. Over to Cliff.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy, and thanks for having us today. We appreciate it. I wanted to just provide a little bit of background and context. Orb and Kim started with us in 2016. We did a facility study. At that time, thought we were going to focus on the Marshall site. And after the facility study, it quickly became a different priority. And we started to look at what we call ELCs, or educational learning centers. And so our programs are your programs, our kids are your kids. And we provide programming, think high needs behavioral kids, we call it setting 4 special ed. And it's students who, for whatever reason, because of their disability, don't function very well in a traditional setting, and they go somewhere else for the day. And that's where they come to our programs. We have seen population growth every year. This year, our population of students stayed about the same. Even in a COVID pandemic, we've seen a little bit of growth, but not like we'd seen in the last or the previous 3 or 4 or 5 years. As we embarked on this work with the facilities, one of the things, probably 2 of the highest priorities, one was appropriate educational space for these kids. I can talk a little bit about that. It was just so clear to us that we need to do a better job of providing that space. And the second thing is we're very sensitive to cost. And as a result, we've worked very hard to try and collaborate wherever we can. So I'll give you a couple examples. We're in an old elementary building. It wasn't the original site we thought we would be. We've been in the Cosmos Elementary School for years and years and years. And then we actually thought we would try and take that program to Hutchinson. There were some various reasons for that. One of them being recruiting the staff. Others were amenities like lunch programming and some of those kinds of things, access to law enforcement. But there were reasons why we were looking at that. And then all of a sudden, we got some synergy around state funding. And that elementary school has been transformed into a setting 4 educational learning center with a $5 million grant and about just under $3 million of investment by the service co-op. And we have a brand new facility there that's functioning today as a setting 4 facility. ACGC provides the lunch there. We actually work very well with them. They provide the custodial and those kinds of things. So that's if I could cherry pick how I would like to do all these program facilities, that would be the one. We have no debt there, and a brand new building that'll go well beyond my years working at the co-op. We think 34 years.
This is at Cosmos.
At Cosmos. The other program that I'd highlight, put him on video, and that started with a conversation again with the superintendent of schools, Luther Heller, and he was talking to the city, and in a roundabout way, the EDA donated land to the city. Then we partnered with the city to design and construct a facility specifically for meeting the needs of our students. That one is a little different funding arrangement. I said that backwards, didn't I? The city donated to the EDA. We have a lease with the EDA. But we also have an option to purchase that building whenever we want to. Now, we don't own any of these facilities today, but again, by that collaboration, we were able to save on the cost of the land acquisition and those kinds of things. So collaboration is really important to us. When Jeremy reached out and said, should we talk? Should we think about what we can do together? It was absolutely yes, we should. Now, our current reality today is our program that we have in Bellevue, Old Elementary School, which all of my superintendent colleagues, they stopped saying this to me, but for years and years and years, they all had an elementary school that they wanted to give to us. And there's reasons why that gift isn't always appropriate, because it comes with multiple millions of dollars of investment that needs to happen. So we have a program in Bellevue. Our intention is to move that program to Marshall as soon as we can. We think that we're past the winter time, but there's some break fixes there that are very worrisome. The boiler is, as you know, vintage. Finding parts is a challenge, but we intend to move that program to Marshall. And then the other thing that we have is our corporate space, as you all know, is in the mall. The mall has lost tenants every year for, I think, as long as I've been around. We're not sure about the future of the mall. And so we're looking at other options. And that led us to having this conversation. We know that with your needs for an ALC and our needs for an ELC, that we can collaborate to provide recreational space that we can share. You know, that we can collaborate and, oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
Your lease is up at the mall when?
23.
Our lease is up 23, Tech, same time. Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of synergy around that happens. The challenge, again, as you know, you've been into building projects, is we can't wait till the summer of 23 to decide what we're doing. We've got to decide now so that we can move on and get some things done. So the Learning Center side has always been one that we feel really good about, and Gary and Kim can talk about. We think we know the square footage for what it is that we think we need. Now, the enrollment is still the guess, just like you have, but we feel pretty good about the Learning Center side. What we loosely call the corporate side, or our office space, is a little bit different. And when we first started talking, it wasn't, I don't think I recognized that it was really both of these that we're talking about. And Jeremy explained what it is that Marshall Public is looking to do. And for us, again, there's common space that we can share. We have a board, you have a board, we need board meeting space. You have places where you want to bring staff in to do some training, we do the same thing. There are ways that we can reduce both of our costs by sharing as much as possible. And so that's where we're at. We are actively looking at properties in town and looking at different things, and we wanted to bring you up to speed tonight. I'm gonna, I get to.
Yeah, you can.
If I could pick up that. It's at Bellevue for a long time, and it's a fit. And I felt sorry for the parents of the kids we had to send there. I mean, I felt sorry for the kids as well. And, you know, it's heavily staffed. The children that we've had that have gone there are really heavy need, mostly behaviorally. And that they didn't fit within, but, you know, I look at how do we acclimate them back to a real world, because Bellevue is not a real world scene. So I'm excited about this possibility, Cliff. I think for our kids' sake and for our parents' sake, both.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Bill. I think, you know, Kim and I are talking, and I think Kim and I would both say that there's a big, and Jeremy kind of mentioned it, there's so much mission here that these kids deserve way better than we're doing. I would leave it at that. But I'm committed to doing everything I can to provide that opportunity. I think we have great staff, but we can do better with the facility side, and we're committed to doing that. I'm going to let these guys. I think Gary, you're going to talk a little bit about the shared efficiency piece on this slide. And
Sure. So I came down, took a tour of the Maytech facility, worked with Jeremy and his staff, and looked at some of the programs that would move into a different facility, other programs that might be relocated to other locations. And then over the years, like I say, we've been working with SWWC for 4+ years. We got a pretty good handle on different kinds of models that we would use to develop these facilities. And we'd be looking today at about an enrollment of around 45 students. That translates into a facility, and we did a very detailed program to about 23,000 square feet for SWWC. And then looking at Maytech and some of the revisions we would do there, that was about 19,000 square feet. And that would be the facility program that you would have, let's say, if we built two independent facilities on standalone sites. So that gives you about 42,600 square feet of space. What we did in a very simple way was, as Cliff noted, we looked at spaces like cafeterias, serving areas, conference rooms, the rec space, and a number of other spaces that you could easily share because they're not, utilization independently isn't that high, but combined, it could get us almost 100% utilization of some of those spaces. And so when we come back and we look at some of those spaces and what we would be able to save, so there's also spaces that get deleted from the program because of the redundancy. So some of the hallways, some of the circulation, mechanical systems, vestibules, things like that. So that takes us from a 42,000 square foot facility down to about a 37,000 square foot facility. Now we'd have to vet all those programmatic elements. It's based on the current program and programs, if you will, that you provide at Maytech. And we would need to confirm with the enrollment and all the different departments that are going to be part of SWWC. But as we see it today, we'd save, there's a good possibility we could save 5,600 square feet of space. And when you look at, the cost of construction these days, you all know, since you've got, projects in the works, that $5,600 can amount to, a pretty substantial savings.
Question, do those square footages include your corporate needs?
No, we've
That's not
only
part of-
done it with the ELC and the ALC.
Okay.
On the SWWC side of it, we have done some of that work to date on the corporate side, so we have a pretty good feel there. But we're doing more work post-COVID as it relates to that. And we've just got some preliminary information from Jeremy on the district side. So we would do the same scenario and kind of do the same thing as we've done so far on the ELC and ALC. So.
Yeah, we're really early on the front end of
Yeah.
that piece of it. And we had 15,000 plus or minus square foot that we looked at kind of before COVID. And now for us, it'll matter more, I think, than it would be for the district because we'll have some staff that may not need office space here. They may be officing somewhere else. They may be officing from home. They might be doing other. We may need a different kind of space. So we're kind of looking at that. I think currently, what is our square footage is off the top of my head?
Yeah. Well, at your current space, it's around 15,000 square feet.
Yeah.
The piece that's missing from the current space when we did the initial programming was some of those large meeting spaces to accommodate, the entire SWWC staff. As Cliff noted, what we're starting to take a look at now, we've done some employee surveys. We're looking at some post-COVID models from businesses around the world and trying to establish kind of, a new set point for how we look at office space. And as an example, and Bill was involved at a project recently at SMSU, we had a town hall meeting. We had 375 participants in that town hall meeting. And that was all done via Zoom. And so we're starting to look at those kinds of models as well in some of that large meeting space. So we're actually looking forward to some pretty exciting results here in the next couple months on what that square footage will be and what some of those new officing models will be.
To look at kind of a timeline, what we did was that we jumped out to, if you've heard, is that kind of where the district side is and where SWWC side is that where would be a target date that we'd really like to be in a newer facility that would meet the needs of the students. And so we've targeted the academic year of 2023-24. So that's a little over 2 years from now. And we would say that would probably be potentially worst case scenario. Like we took into consideration if we were actually building them, which we don't know if we're looking at new, renovating something that's existing or what have you. So that's what we did is we moved out to 6/1 of 2023, where we would have construction completed and allow time to move in and be ready for the school year, fall of 2023. So then we just worked everything backwards. And if you've been involved in a project, we're following the same kind of program that you would be accustomed to. We would have a kickoff and program meeting. We'd move into schematic design. We'd come back with that. We'd review the estimate, or do we have the alignment between scope and budget? If that gets approved, we'd move into design development, put more detail to it, do another estimate, make sure that we're still in alignment with scope and budget. If we are, we move into construction documents, get authorization to bid the project out, and do the plan review, and then we'd start construction. So our kickoff, it would be somewhere, let's say, middle of August of this year. That would allow us time between now and then to do more analysis of what potential facilities are maybe available currently. We're looking for 40,000 square feet. There's a few that are potentially out there. We would probably also look at it from a high level analysis between if we had, let's say, a potential building that we could renovate. We would take a look at what it would take to bring that up to the energy code currently, and also what it would take from a building code standpoint. We'd look at that at a high level, and we could compare that possibly to new, so that at least we would have that information, at a high level that would potentially then provide some direction as far as which route we might look at. When you take a look at programming and everything that Gary put together is that a lot of times you're a lot more efficient when you don't have you've got a blank sheet of paper. Okay, you don't even have 4 walls. So you can be the most efficient when you're building from the inside out. If we have already predetermined 4 walls, we have an existing facility, then we have to work within those constraints. But that's how we would look at it. That would be the approach, and that would be the timeline. We had to make an assumption of when is the end game? When do we want to be in a different facility? And we just worked it out. We worked it back.
We're not here asking for any kind of commitment tonight at all. And in fact, one of the best ways for me to describe this is to talk a little about what we're doing in Wilmer, because we're working with the Wilmer School District on a facility there. And I kind of call them, when do you have to make a decision? So we can get down this path and into this thing. We're going to have to do something on the co-op side, no matter what. We just know that Bellevue's not a long-term play for us. We know that we have to do something with our office space. That's not a long-term play. So we need to do some things. So if we get into this and you say, yeah, the money doesn't look right, I mean, there are going to be points where you're going to have to make a decision to go forward or not. But that's not tonight at all. We're not close to that piece tonight. The other thing I failed to mention, I should mention, when the Montevideo project became more public, the city of Marshall and EDA is interested in working with us. And so they've been kind of alongside us, talking with us about this. I don't know what that means yet. We don't have any. In fact, we've kind of said to them, we need to kind of get a little bit further down the road to decide where we're at, what we're doing before we would engage them again. But the city and the EDA have been very open to talking about how they can work with us on a project. And so we're constantly looking for ways to shave the costs and to figure out ways to make that happen, while at the same time doing what quite honestly is, 20 years in Bellevue is long enough. It's time that we do some things differently. And we're excited about it, and we're excited that Jeremy kind of invited us in, and we have this conversation with you. We wanted to give you a high-level overview tonight, and as long as you still want to talk, we'll keep talking with you, because there's synergy in that, and it makes good sense. I say it all the time, these are your children, and all we're trying to do is to give them an appropriate place to learn in an environment that makes sense for the challenges they face day in and day out. And we're going to do that one way or another, but we appreciate the opportunity. Questions you have for us?
Selena, center, and then we're gonna leave space from you. We're not down there.
We're probably not that far down yet. And Kim, I'll say something and he'll tell me if I said it wrong. There's savings in a public-public partnership, right? Because you don't have to worry about some of the property tax costs. So if we have a private investor, whatever that might be, so someone does the improvements and then we lease from them, they're going to want to make sure that they have their costs covered. So we get that. So it's a great question, Jeff. It's early for that. But at the same time, the analysis that Kim is talking about, we just need to dive in to do that and to say, okay, and then the financing, Matt sits there where he knows this. We're not in a good position to finance from the co-op standpoint because we don't, we're all fee for service. And so we don't have the ability to levy taxes. And now there's, the legislature has what's called a co-op facilities bill inside which we've been trying to get passed for a number of years. That could be an opportunity that could help us do some of this. Basically, what it does is it gives our member districts access to additional levy dollars above and beyond your lease levy that you have today. It's not unlimited, and quite honestly, I keep telling Sam Walseth, okay, we got a step one, step two, because I want to see it equalize someday. But there's a leveling the playing field. That could be a possibility that we could use some of that. That might change the way we could finance some of these things. But today the co-op is not in a good position to try and finance. But it's early for that, and
Right.
And that's why we talk to folks like the EDA. We talk to how can we put these things together. And
Our side of it, we are looking at using these levies. We've got the current sites, when that would come offline, that would be extra funds.
Remember, questions?
Kind of collaboration is great. Because we're learning from Abra with what we're doing there.
Working together is always really good.
Thank you for your leadership with that. Appreciate it. Coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Our next presentation. The Captain Project presentation. Yeah, it's always an honor to listen to you.
You do better.
Yeah, it's always an honor when you present it. All right, Paul.
The last couple of years, we've tried to break down our own projects a little more with the referendum, with the new school, and a lot of the talk with Westside. How the public want to know what you're doing with future other schools updated. Share that with the board and the public. Just for the public's record, what is LTFM stand for? Long-term facility maintenance. So your educational action. And also with that, either the second board meeting in June or the one in July, be presenting with 10-year LTFM presented for 10. We go through some of these things. Just want to make sure you guys know or remember all the projects that are included in this presentation are expenditures that were in the 10-year plan. So you guys have approved these. All the projects in this presentation also were part of that ICS facility payment. And then, like I said, you will have the LTFM application coming up in June or July. If you guys approve it, has to be submitted by the 31st. I broke it down by school, it'd be a little easier to look at. As you guys know, we've got the IQ, or the indoor air quality project, coming up at Parkside. We got some facility maintenance bonds cover that. There are some other parts to that project, and we'll be using some LTFM funds that were in our plan. So we'll be replacing some of the existing VAVs, and doing it into a newer system. We'll be replacing the 2 chillers that are there. And those chillers are original building, along with the boiler that we're replacing. Boiler is not part of the IEP, though, it's part of our LTFM, so some of that expenditure comes into play. We are planning on having that project done this summer of 2021. Just want to kind of point out too, as we're talking projects, it goes fiscal year. So there could be projects that you're thinking, well, I thought you were going to do that next summer. That might be in July or August of next summer. So technically fiscal year. Some of those at the end. Another project
that we'll be doing, this actually was not part of our LTFM, maybe in my right away. This is part of something we're going to be using our construction funds for. This is something that we've talked about, I think, for a while, of how can we utilize the old media center, the ILC area at Parkside better. With second grade moving out of the ILC, that's going to open up some room. So we're going to be adding a couple of walls and redoing some of the air ducts. Walls will go up to the ceiling, gives room for some extra office space or breakout space, and then also a future kindergarten room, giving us that 9 kindergarten rooms that we had planned for. That is also going to be completed this summer.
I have a question.
Yes.
This might be more for Jeremy, maybe. When we started the ILC, one of the advantages was we had 3 classes together. By moving down to 2 classes, do we lose anything as far as the educational part of it? I mean, it seems like it was such a huge thing to have kindergarten first and second together.
It was really nice to have those 3, and we'll still get benefits with having just the 2. But yeah, we don't plan to bring in early childhood at this time.
just a side note, we'll be keeping the skylight that will remain on the ILC side. That was kind of some people's concern. You guys had approved our abatement bond. We'll be working on those projects this summer. This just gives some of the different areas that we'll be able to replace and fix throughout Parkside. 1 through 5, there's some failing asphalt paths. I'm sure you've seen them. We're going to replace those paths with concrete. They'll exist longer, and they'll also be easier for us for snow removal on paths. 6 down and below is some area off to the left of the pavers that need some fixing. We'll also be removing all the pavers and replacing that whole area with concrete. And then down by the new addition, by the handicap ramp, there's a couple of sections there that just make sense to fill in with concrete. A couple of reasons. 1, be hard to maintain. 2, Darcy actually said it'd be a nice area for kids to line up for buses and parent drop off away from the sidewalk. And then 10 is a portion, or is an area that we want. It's been on our LTFM. We're going to remove the railroad ties. We'll level that area. We are able to remove those trees and replant them. We'll replant them over by the playground area. Again, that'll all be used with our abatement bonds and be done this summer. The projects at Parkside, we're going to be replacing all the interior key cores, security-wise, and also be able to zone. We'll bring them up with the rest of our key system that we have at the high school and the middle school. And we'll also be at Southview. Replace the VCT in the workroom. We had some leftover tile, so it's mainly just the labor to do that.
What's VCT?
Just your vinyl tile. Okay. Early childhood playground that is outside here, outside of the district office here, will be moved over to Parkside. The tile is attached to the cement pad out here, so we won't be able to remove those tiles. So we'll have to do some dirt work, put down a concrete pad, some tile, and then move that over there. We will be adding another swing set for early childhood over there. Total cost is $23,601, and we'd be able to use our construction funds for that. And as I talk about using construction funds, the ones that are on the bottom, know that budget-wise, we're doing well. So we're able to fit some of these projects into our construction funds that we have left over right now for contingency money. And we plan to have left over, so that helps out some of our LTFM projects. Darcy and Amanda's windows are both failing, letting in some heat and some cool in different seasons. So we're replacing those two windows, become more efficient in that office area. And then there's some brick, cracked brick around the building that we'll be replacing. And then all those top ones are going to be 2021. One thing we haven't looked into, but we are going to look into either this summer or next summer, is getting the tiling done on the north playground. We've talked about it several times. Water collecting there to try and solve that. Warren's working with the city to see how we can do that. At the middle school, we have the indoor air quality project going on. Going to be in the locker room in the existing pool. This is a project that won't take place until 2022. We were able to save a little money by splitting the two projects. So it's original HVAC system, 1968, so it definitely needs to be done. Sidewalk projects, part of the abatement bond at Parks or at middle school here. The top picture is actually outside of the district office. We have a section that warranty work, it was a part that was replaced last year and it's failing. They're going to replace that under warranty. And then we do have a section down below where there's curb and sidewalk that needs to be replaced for safety purposes. Bottom, you'll see some different things. Over to the right, we are replacing the sidewalk that goes up to the right of the school to the theater. That is original sidewalk as well as a section below. Be able to go up there and look at it. You can see it's original. And then we have two projects that will wait until next summer because we're working on the swimming pool project. And we don't want machines running over them and damaging the new sidewalk. So the two at the bottom there will be replaced next summer. Also part of our abatement project, we'll be resurfacing the parking lot, but at the bottom you can see we're going to be filling in a couple of areas by the entrance over there where the playground is for the middle school. And then we're going to be doing some what I call inexpensive projects. We're going to expand the fenced area on the tar. We're going to paint the court, basketball court lines, replace a couple of the hoops, or remove the fence in the one area and extend it out, add some four squares, some tetherball, more activities for our middle schoolers.
I'm gonna put the gaga ball so they can play basketball and gaga ball, having in the middle of the court.
Yeah, Jeremy and I were out there today, and I mean, there's other things. Once we have some capital, and we'll work with the middle school on their capital too. Swing sets are always used. Another set of swing sets would be nice. As you saw in that other one, like $6,000, so it's not something you can just add in the whim. The other thing we're going to look at adding is maybe some picnic tables, because we saw some kids sitting around the trees and a lot of kids just standing around talking. It'd be kind of nice to have an area to sit. I mentioned briefly the middle school, the bus lane, the visitor parking lot, the big parking lot, the basketball courts, and that addition that we're going to make for the recess area is all going to be crack filled and then chip sealed this summer. That size of parking lot and for the number of cars that are on it, we figured the crack fill was the better route to go than to mill and overlay. It was $40,000 to do the mill and overlay, where this is going to cost about $74,000. I think Warren said that this lasts about 5 to 7 years doing it this way. And then that parking lot is definitely needs it. Another project, this is a pretty big one, is updating some of the doors throughout the building. Show you more coming up here, but 3 of them that we need to replace. We were just down there today looking at them. The gym doors, They're 1995, but they are failing also. Security-wise, we need to replace those. The doors will be replaced with intruder-resistant glass. It was a fairly inexpensive upgrade, and we figured the doors would be a main place for that. So those will be replaced. The wood benches are going to be replaced with some cast iron benches. They're the same benches we have in the vestibule up here. Again, those are definitely in need of replacing. And then if you've walked into the main entrance to the gym, you can see the two sides of the brick are getting damaged by snow and rain. So we're going to be fixing those and capping those off so that doesn't happen again for the entrance. That will be done this summer yet. Also at your middle school, and this will probably be a combination of this year, next year, are some additional doors that need to be replaced. Again, they're original at the building, door 26 and door 31, both going to the other side. Those, the doors and the frames will be replaced. And then at the grade levels, the doors need to be replaced. And a couple or three of them around the media center. Again, those will have the intruder-resistant glass put in. We are able to use construction funds for that because it falls under our security and safety that was in the bond.
The dollars you have listed, are those bid dollars by someone already, or is that an estimate?
Those are estimates. Yep. Next year, we'll be looking, we'll have Parkside shut down this year to do their projects. Next year, middle school will be shut down with the IAQ project. We'll also be replacing the glass. in 10 of the window, or 20 of the exterior windows, they're around the classrooms there. Those we're not going to do the intruder resistant glass. Security purposes with our Alice training, we are going to put tempered glass on those. They're broken. The pool area project, part of it, there's a couple of things. One is the entrance to the pool area. If we're in the main parking lot, you can see we've already started on this. We're adding a couple, where there's a single door, we're adding double aluminum doors to match the school. So it'll be an entrance for public to be able to get into, or whatever we use that pool area for. It'll have basically double doors, then two double doors interior like a vestibule. We'll be removing the big tree there. We're going to be increasing the concrete. There is a handicap ramp there. We'll be adding a staircase to the entrance.
Deanna, is that vestibule going inside or coming to the exterior?
It's on the inside.
On the inside.
Yep. There's actually doors in there. We're just making them double doors too. We'll have some visionary work to go on that we'll be working with you guys on. Also part of the pool area that we had talked about in the past, and again, it's kind of going to be phases with this project too. One thing that helped with adding the double doors is the construction people don't have to mess with the windows. They were going to later take out the windows, drive their equipment up, be able to bring in the dirt. A little worried about the concrete driving up. By putting the double doors, we're doing a couple of things. We're adding a nice entryway, and they're able to go through that way now to bring in the dirt and cement. They're going to be removing the floor, the tile, some of the drains, the lighting, and then they'll be filling the pool up with gravel and then putting a layer of cement over.
This will become extra classroom space or extra ed space or something.
This right now is phase one of, we're not sure what it's going to be.
But it will be able to be used.
Exactly, yes, it'll be able to be used. Yeah, no, I think that's the best way to put it right now.
Yeah.
We're kind of taking baby steps to begin with. We were down there today looking at it. There's quite a bit of work even after the floor is done with the walls and the windows and everything. Got a few ideas, and again, we'll work with the board on that for final approval, but we want to make it usable space. We're able to use LTF funds to fill in the pool.
How long has that space been vacated? How many years? A long time.
Probably
14, 15 years, and I think it was one of my first years on the board. When we had a budget for the road.
2005 was a long time.
Yeah.
Nice to have it usable again.
Yeah, so kind of like chopping down the tree, we did the roof last year. And we're gonna fill in the pool this year. Next year we'll be doing the HVAC and the lighting. So we'll have to nail down what we're gonna be using soon. Because then the next step, we'll wanna know that time.
How many square footage is that space, you know? Swimming pool space? That's pretty good size. It could be 2 classes.
It's a nice time. Other projects at the middle school, next year we'll be doing the rest of the retro light fitting. For what it does and the savings we'll have, it's a fairly inexpensive project to do. We'll be finishing the office areas, the main hallway, the cafeteria, the gym, the locker rooms. Depending where we are at the pool project, we might include it, we might not. Again, once we know what that's basically used for. Our annual gym floor finish, we are replacing the curtain in the middle school that is failing. We're going to wait till next year, but for security purposes, we're going to have that replaced. It's on order now. And then part of the project of laying the new tile in F-wing is we need to line those pipes down F-wing, and we've been having some problems, as you guys know, in the cafeteria. We've had some problems lately, so it's timing of this is really good to get this done. Not a very inexpensive thing to do, but in the long run, it's something that has to be done. If we have some good results with our F-wing tile, which they're going to come and fix a couple of spots under warranty. In a couple of years, we'll do the cafeteria. So we want to make sure that it's actually working before we lay down tile and have it come back up. High school, part of the abatement projects will be filling in some corners at the entrance. We do have our landscaper class working with Brian and Corey on that entryway. There's definitely some work that needs to be done to make that look a lot nicer for an entryway. And that landscape class has done a really nice job. They're also working at number 2 there, that tree, we've had wood chips around there. Anytime it blows or rains, those wood chips come out. We're going to be filling that in with concrete. Keeping the tree, we're going to put a tree grate around it, but we're going to fill the rest in with concrete so we don't have a problem. For 3 off to the right is where the snow is usually pushed. We're going to put a concrete pad there for them to put the snow on, so then when it's not snowing, it looks nice. You can put a bench there, whatever. 2 and 3 are going to be done before graduation, so we have a nice entrance for graduation this year. 4 and 5 in the back are just a couple of areas that make sense. Both sports, IAD and sports coming out there. We plan to put a couple of bench out there too for people taking their cleats off and everything, so we don't track stuff inside. And then the last one is the 6 concrete islands that are out there will be removed before we do the parking lot project. Reasons, one, just damaged areas, snow removal, and so those will be painted. One of the big things is the parking lot projects. Both the west and the south parking lots will be built and overlaid. Really, I think out there that will complete everything for a little while. Big projects, we're planning on doing that the first couple weeks in June. So one week that goes over summer school, but we'll have other areas they can park. But we've done that for the rest of the summer.
We have bids on that already, because I know contractors are pretty busy
Bids and schedule.
with the schedule.
Scheduled for the first 2 weeks in June.
Good.
So the lines are painted. We're talking right now, maybe looking at how those lines are painted. It's kind of tight. We don't need all those parking spots. So make it a little easier. So when I go up there and park, I don't have to go back and forth.
Great idea.
And then we'll repaint the marching band lines. Kind of thought that would keep Wayne here another year, but it didn't work.
We were laughing. You just couldn't see it.
Yeah, there you go. Other projects at the high school, things we've talked about before, replacing the gymnastics and wrestling room doors. Those were failing, you could pull on them to open them, get on a safety, so that falls under construction. Wrestling mats and the gymnastics mats in the rooms needed to be changed out because of fire code. We'll use some construction funds for those. The annual gym floor refinish. The summer boiler has been added and hooked up. It just needs to be started up. That's going to help with the dehumidification and also energy when we don't want to start up the big one. We can start up the little one or run them both. We can do the whole building. That's basically almost complete. And then we got to keep an eye on our digital sign out at the high school. Seems to be working and failing and working and failing. We've had Daktronics out there. Not an inexpensive thing, but it's also 16, 17 years old. So this just gives a breakdown of how we're paying.
It's a marketing piece too. That sign is the marketing.
Yep. Snapshot of how we're paying for these or how they're being funded. So in the next year and a half, we'll be doing about $5.2 million worth. And only using probably about 1.2, 1.3 million of our LTFM funds. So, projects like I talked about that we'll be doing next summer or the summers after that, the high school carpet, we'll be probably doing that over a 2 or 3 year as needed, but doing it as needed, we'll budget that in. Middle school theater, next summer, we should be able to do that. That's going to take some work to plan that out, what all needs to be done, but that's pretty exciting. Middle school cafeteria, tile, everything works out with those pipes. FY24, we look at that, and then the middle school track, we have budgeted in FY24. 25, we have the high school tile, and then also middle school carpet. Again, we phase those out because it's such a big area, we won't do it all one summer. And FY26, high school roof, which is the big one, but with getting some of these other things done, we'll be able to afford that over 2 to 3 years.
I screwed up that.
Number 5. So break down the LTFM each year, what we're using. Feel really comfortable about this. Right now in the budget, we have the high school and the middle school carpet all being done in 1 year. As we spread those out, it'll look a little better. FY24, we don't like to get down to $5,000, but I don't think we will. I think with some of the projects moving around, being able to use some of those construction funds, but we could also deficit if we had to in LTFM. So shouldn't be too worried about that. But throughout the years, we're going to spend down because we've got a pretty healthy fund balance and we've got a lot of projects to do.
And why the big revenue changes starting in 25? Is that because of age of new facility?
No, it's a great question. It's because we did those facility bonds for the roof. Okay. It was 3-4 years.
We get
So that came off, but it will go down a little bit because of the new school. And then every year go up until our average, I think, is 33 years.
Your high school roof has held up pretty good, hasn't it?
That's it.
That was a question.
Thank you.
Good to know it's your turn.
Thank you, Deanna. It's nice to have it all broken down. Thank you. On to our consent agenda, motion to approve it. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? None, please vote. Is approved. Financials, motion to approve the financials. Second. Question?
Just again, there's a few larger ones in there, both the Parkside IEQ project and our construction project. One thing to point out, we did need to purchase a different driver's ed car, our old car. Repairs were pretty spendy. We were able to sell that on the surplus website for $3,000. And we were able to pick up, it was actually a city of Marshall car off of surplus for $6,000. They had $3,000 budgeted, so just kind of.
Any questions? Approved. Any questions or anything else on financials?
No, just kind of like the last previous 2 months. So far, year to date, we're looking better than budgeted. Caution that with the payroll coming up, it's quite a big one, but comparing to 18-19, which we ended up around 60,000 to the good. Once the payrolls go.
Questions? Thank you. Board members, anything you'd like to bring up? Administrator support, superintendent.
A few things tonight. My report, I just talked about the governor's announcement last week that he's rescinding the statewide mask mandate. Department of Ed and the CDC guidelines are still recommending that schools continue to follow their safe learning plan through the end of the school year. The last teacher contact day is what we're looking at there. So the masks still need to be worn inside the school buildings and school buses until further notice. We are looking at some guidance, additional guidance for summer school as we make determinations what that looks like. Early childhood, Tiffany talked about the placement letters for 21-22 were sent out on May 1st. With the additional class offerings we're able to do next year in their new location. Everyone was offered a placement and we have comfortable class sizes. So excited about that for next year. She also shares that with moving this summer and getting situated in the classrooms, we are not offering summer ECFE classes this year, but ESY will continue to take place as it has in the past. Parkside report, Darcy shares that she talked some reminders about end of the year assessments, and we have the academic assessments taking place, but certainly wants to also acknowledge our students grew in a lot of ways we can't measure through the assessments. She talks about the student who started the year very shy and timid and became confident and outgoing. The student who cried every day because they missed their family, but now is blossomed and becoming independent, and the list of other examples that just kind of goes on. So it was a good reminder as we think about our youngest learners and things we're still able to do this year. Also celebration at Parkside, they are having future this year. Kids are excited about that one every year. But June 1st, Independence Park, staff and students are they're planning a fun day in the sun. West Side, Pete shares that the Marshall Aquatic Center has allowed students to come over for June 2nd in the afternoon to do swimming. And he shares that staff members, second, third, and fourth grade staff members got a tour of Southview. The third time getting over there recently, and it was exciting for me to see the completion and where they're at in that building. So that happened last week, the 10th to the 12th. School, Brian shared that the testing is wrapping up at the middle school. MCA is wrapping up. I know they're working in NWA yet as well. He called a special thank you to Joette Swan, Tony Alberts, and the middle school staff for their work with coordinating and the logistics of all testing. And he also talked about training they recently did for middle school staff with the BAR process. I think it was a month ago or so, Brian came and shared about the BAR program at the high school. It's also an option for the middle school, so they're looking at that as possible implementation going forward to the middle school. He also shares at the high school that we recently were notified that for the third consecutive year, the high school was named a top Minnesota high school by U.S. News and World Report. So that was an exciting announcement to get. And Brian shares some updates about just end of the year things. So annual scholarship award ceremony, the Private Tiger Award ceremony is this Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the high school. The annual honors convocation will take place next Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning. That's for students only. And then graduation is scheduled for June 4th at 7 p.m. He has additional details about all those events in his report if anyone would like to look at these. Maytech, Amanda shares that the graduation ceremony for seniors graduating this year will be June 1st at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Maytech. So board members interested in attending, let her know. She also talks about targeted services program. They had their last night last week on Thursday on the 13th, and they're really transitioning now with a focus to summer school program and getting the final enrollments and such taking place, registrations for summer. Activities, Bruce had some updates talking about the spring sports guidelines. Just like they have all year, they continue to change almost weekly with what that looks like. The league continues to meet with the Department of Health based on current state of COVID cases and transmission in the state, and the guidelines, as they change, we continue to follow those changes. There's the high school league released competitive section placements for all activities for the next 2 years. They base their section alignments on geography and student enrollment. He put a list of all the section opponents for each of our activities in his board report if you'd like to do that. Jackie shares that there's a meeting scheduled with Big Stone Therapies. We've worked with them over a few years for some different services. Meeting with them again, contracting for continuing that partnership going forward. Director of Teaching and Learning, Beth shares math. Math has been the program that's up for this year, so a lot of conversations with math teachers. They're reviewing curriculum needs, aligning to grade level standards. The teachers are getting really close to determining exactly which materials they're requesting for this year, and we're putting final budgets together on that so we get things ordered, hopefully implement new math curriculum for next year, next fall. And she also shares a kind of exciting program. Recently, SMSU had added, or a recent addition was a para to SPED, so a paraprofessional could get a SPED license. The SMSU has now been approved for a para to TESOL program. So that would be a para that would like to get an ESL license, which is another area we struggle to find teachers. So kind of exciting to have that opportunity. And she's working with different paraprofessionals, just sharing that this is an opportunity, and anyone who would be interested, she's giving information about that as well. I will let Dion share his own report.
Typically every year we have a Potter come in and present with everything that's going on. Just wanted to give they a chance to, so we wanted to just give an update. Breakfast and lunch numbers, shared with you guys in February what they were in April, are looking well compared to regular years. The number of breakfast and lunch average serving is up, so that's good. Negative balances, I haven't given an update for a while on that. Meals are free, but we still have a negative balance out there for families. We've been working on that. It's went from 6,000 in December to about 44. Trying to get that balance down. Summer school meals, we're going to serve on-site just to the kids attending summer school at the high school and the middle school. Middle school will be targeted services, ESY, and then high school is ESY and credit recovery. And then anybody else that wants a meal under the age of 18 can pick one up for free at the middle school. We'll just be distributing at the middle school from 11:30 to 1, starting June 14th and running through July 29th, Monday through Friday. So that'll be available. We'll start advertising that out within the next week or two. And then I think you guys have heard 21, 22, they've already announced that meals will be free. It'll look a little different from the summer food service program to what's called the seamless summer option. It's still a summer food service program. It's just the type of meals that are served. There's not as much flexibility as summer food service program, but it's my understanding that the meals are actually better and the reimbursement's better. So we'll get more information as that comes out. And I just shared some construction pictures and updates. You drive by Parkside, the sod is down. Action Landscape did that for us. They did a great job. They're in and out. They'll be helping to maintain that and water it for the next few weeks. So it takes a hold. And then we still have a few things that we need done on the outside. That will be done after school ends on the 4th. And then some pictures of Southview, some of the progress that's been done. Every day you walk in there, something else is done. It's exciting.
Any questions, board members? Students board reports.
For high school, there was AP biology tests on May 14th, and there's also more AP tests. Is the Pride and Tiger Scholarship Banquet. May 17th is 9 through 12 choir concerts. May 10th was the spring band concert. May 25th is a high school orchestra concert, and May 25th is the honors concert.
The middle school orchestra concert is on May 25th. And they also have a choir concert on May 22nd.
There is no school on May 31st for Memorial Day.
You didn't even mention graduation. When is that?
Yeah, that's June 4th.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion items, first review of policies 414 through 419, 613, and 707. Any questions?
I just wanted to comment on the tobacco-free environment. Jeremy noted, it was noted in one of the middle school report, I think it was, about the vaping sensors. And this tobacco-free environment policy now includes language about vaping, and it requires education. And I think that's so important because parents aren't aware of this in many cases, and it's very prevalent. So that's good to see some steps being taken to start to address that and raise, I think, public awareness of the problem with vaping.
That was the biggest change with that one, was looking at the electronic options that are now out there. I know kids come in with some of these things. So, yeah, and I think that education piece is important.
Graduation requirements, does that include the updates that Brian just gave us at our last meeting? That's in here, okay.
Graduation one, let's those updates there. The other one, just to call your attention to, is the transportation policy 707. We have talked to Southwest coaches, and that policy includes expanding the free busing for all students through 4th grade. So right now it goes through 2nd grade for Parkside. With the move to Southview Elementary, we're able to, without additional cost, plus through 4th grade, with some of the other shifts that will take place with the locations of it.
Moving on to action items, approval of Hoffman and Bros fiscal year 2021 audit services. Motion to approve. Second. Open for discussion.
It's just the annual engagement letter that we recommend the board to approve to have Hoffman and Brooks do our full audit and our single audits.
Any questions? None will vote. Approved. It's adjourned. Thank you, board members.